What is up, guys? It is RSC6414 here, back with another video. This time I'm reviewing TNA Destination X 2014, the free pay-per-view event on Spike, as they did last year. They did this for the first time with Destination X 2013 and continued with some more events, and now they're bringing it back in 2014. This show was good. They had some good matches, delivered, thumbs up show overall. Let's go ahead and get to the review. First thing we had actually wasn't a match, it was a segment. Team Dixie came out. You had Big Zeke, Gene Snitsky, EC3, Rhino, and Spud and Dixie, of course. They talked about the fans chanted, "You sold out" at Rhino. EC3 proposes one final battle to Team 3D and Tommy Dreamer. EC3 said he'd put the old ECW down forever, so he takes a shot at Team 3D and Dreamer, saying he's going to basically end them. And it's basically a hardcore match to set up a final battle next week on Impact. So it should be a then Bully Ray and Team 3D with Bully Ray, of course, and Devon and Tommy Dreamer come out. They say there's going to be a 4-on-4 tag match. They accept the challenge later on in the show, weapons and everything. So we'll have a 4-on-4 tag match next week. Team 3D, Dreamer, and a mystery fourth guy versus Ryklon, Rhino, and Snitsky, and basically probably EC3. So it should be a good match. I'm excited for it. And yeah, but that was basically kind of the only few segments they had. First match we have World Tag Team title match for the TNA Tag Team Championships. The Wolves versus the Hardys of Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy. A dream tag match for wrestling fans. I was really looking forward to it. This match delivered. It got about 10 minutes. I mean, on a 2-hour episode slot, you can only have so long of matches, but this was like a pay-per-view quality match in my opinion. This could have been like a Bound for Glory quality match, honestly, but this match was really good. It was fast-paced from the beginning to the end. Just a really good back-and-forth match. I really enjoyed it. Near fall after near fall, high-flying action, suicide dives, bodies falling everywhere. Just the kind of stuff you like to see. There was some twist of fate by Matt Hardy, which was a near fall. The Wolves hit their double stomp for near fall, so finishers, people kicking out. Just a great match. The Wolves hit the force of nature double tag move when Davey Richards hits the backstabber with the help of Eddie holding Matt Hardy up. Davey Richards pins Matt Hardy for the 1, 2, 3, and the Wolves retain the TNA Tag Team Championship. Good match here. Definitely check it out if you missed the show. Next match we had the X Division qualifier. There were 3 X Division qualifier matches. They were all 3-way matches. So you had 3-way X Division qualifier matches. Each winner of each 3-way match would advance to next week's TNA X Division Championship match for the vacant X Division Championship. First match we had the returning Low Key, a TNA legend, TNA great. Definitely helped shape the X Division. Low Key versus Manic versus DJZ. But this match was pretty good, entertaining for what it was worth. Basically, it didn't get a whole lot of time, but Low Key ends up hitting his Key Crusher finisher on Manic for the 1, 2, 3, and Low Key defeats Manic and DJZ. A pretty good match, fast-paced action, just some good X Division wrestling right there. And yeah, so good match. For what it was worth and the amount of time, it didn't get a whole lot. The next, we had another X Division qualifier. James Storm came out to the ring. He introduced Sonata, the new and improved Sonata, as he said. So James Storm is now Sonata's mentor after Sonata turned rogue and went heel after he hit Muta with a chair on last week's episode of Impact. But yeah, so Sonata, James Storm introduced him. So Sonata would face Brian Cage. Most of you know him from PWG if you follow indies. He also had a match in TNA, I'm pretty sure, last year on Gut Check. Versus the returning Homicide. Everybody remembers Homicide from Latin American Exchange. Just a good stable that we all remember. Definitely one of the more famous ones in TNA. So Homicide, good to see him back in TNA for now. Low-key, I heard they signed him to like a contract, and he's going to be an agent for the X Division, so that's cool. Maybe they'll keep Homicide around too, but I haven't heard much about that. But this match was pretty good. It was very short. It seemed like I was watching it, turned around, and then like 2 minutes later, it was basically it. Brian Cage, they didn't really have him do much. It was really back and forth. Sonata ends up hitting the Tiger Suplex on Crazy. It wasn't actually Homicide. It was Crazy Steve. I apologize. Homicide was in the final match. Sonata hits the Tiger Suplex on Crazy Steve for the 1, 2, 3. So Sonata defeats Brian Cage and defeats Crazy Steve of the Menagerie. I apologize. Homicide was in the third and final X Division qualifying match later on in the night. This was a good match, really just between Sonata and Steve. They didn't have Brian Cage showcase what he really had throughout the match. I'd like to see him get a TNA contract, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was just kind of a one-time appearance for him. But yeah, Loki, heard he got a deal, so that's cool to see him back in TNA. And maybe Brian Cage will get a deal. But Sonata picks up the win, advances next week to face Loki in the X Division Championship match versus the winner of the third qualifying match later on in the night. We have Team 3D and Tommy Dreamer. Like I said, they come out, they address the challenge by Team Dixie, they accept. Tommy Dreamer cuts a passionate promo about wrestling, basically. Devon testifies, and Bully just gets that cheap pop from the NYC crowd, and basically he could probably, people were just going nuts. It was a good crowd tonight in New York City, as you'd expect, as the past 2 weeks in New York have been. This was a popping crowd tonight too, and they vowed to put Dixie through a table. So next week, 4-on-4 tag action. Then we had the final X Division qualifying match, Samoa Joe versus Homicide versus Tigre Uno. The final X Division qualifier. Again, I apologize for saying Homicide over Crazy Steve in the last match, but yeah. Samoa Joe versus Homicide versus Tigre Uno. The third and final X Division three-way for the X Division qualifying match. This was a good match, back and forth. Tigre Uno, I was either thinking Tigre Uno or Joe here. Homicide back. I'd like to see him get signed to a contract, at least a year deal or something by TNA. I'd like to see him back. We'll see what happens. Tigre Uno hit a Hurricane Rana. Couple high-flying maneuvers as he always does. Some corkscrew. Samoa Joe ends up hitting the Muscle Buster on Homicide for the 1, 2, 3. And Samoa Joe defeats Homicide and Tigre Uno. Pretty good match here. Again, it didn't get a whole lot of time, but it was a decent match. So next week, the match is set for the vacant X Division Championship, TNA. You've got Samoa Joe versus Loki versus Sonata in a three-way X Division Championship match, as well as the 4-on-4 tag match between Team Dixie and Team Bully. So should be a good episode next week too, so check it out. TNA's putting on a good product right now. Then we have backstage, Abyss challenges Bram, however you want to pronounce it. Abyss challenges Bram to a Monsters Ball match next week. Bram and Magnus had that Monsters Ball match with Willow and Abyss a couple weeks back. So Abyss wants revenge. He's challenging Bram to a Monsters Ball match next week. So most likely we'll see Bram versus Abyss in a Monsters Ball match next week. Anything with Abyss and Monsters Ball match in it is going to deliver. You'll see some thumbtacks. You'll see all kinds of stuff go on. Black Hole Slam. So it should be a good match. I'm looking forward to it. And then the final and main event match of Destination X of this week's episode was Lashley, the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, defending against a double Austin Aries. This match was pretty good. It probably got about 15 minutes, which is more than some TNA World Heavyweight Championship matches have gotten before, like 7 or 8 even. But this match was pretty good. There was various moments throughout the match you thought maybe Aries is going to take the title. going into this match, I didn't really know what to expect. I knew Aries would try and put on a good match in Lashley with the hard hitting, but I couldn't really say who I thought would win. I kind of had a feeling that Lashley would retain here, but you never know. But this match was a good match. Austin Aries hits the brain buster. I thought maybe that was it. A near fall. Lashley kicks out at 2.5. Then you got Aries having Lashley in a submission maneuver. Lashley would eventually get out of the submission lock. So it was just a good match. There was towards the end of the match, you were kind of thinking maybe Aries was going to take the title, which is what you want as a wrestling fan, the suspense. Just leave you questioning if there's a chance. But basically what happens, Lashley, Aries misses a suicide dive. He crashes hard into the guardrail. He gets back in the ring, and Lashley nails a spear on Austin Aries for the 1, 2, 3, and Lashley retains the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. So where Austin Aries goes after this, I wouldn't be surprised if him and Lashley feuded and Lashley holds the title till, say, Bound for Glory and drops it then. That seems like a popular booking decision with TNA in the past. Have the monster heel be booked all the way till Bound for Glory until he drops the title. But last year's Bully Ray monster heel title run was an interesting one. So we'll see what happens. As far as Austin Aries, where he goes after this, I'd assume he's going to feud with MVP and Lashley or Kenny King in that stable. And this match was pretty good. Lashley retains. I think this was the right decision here to have Lashley keep the title. He's only held it for about a month and a half, so give him a decent reign. Give him another, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, and we'll see how it goes from there. But good show. TNA Destination X delivered to the hype. I enjoyed it. Next week's episode, we've got a 4-on-4 tag match. We've got the X Division Championship and a Monsters Ball match. Can't go wrong. So check it out and try and support TNA. Because the Spike incident, I'll probably make a video on that sometime soon, but I haven't made it yet. But yeah, TNA Destination X, overall grade I give it 6 3/4 out of 10. 6.75 out of 10 is the overall grade I give tonight's episode of Impact Destination X. Good episode, 6.75 out of 10. Hope you enjoyed this review. Check out my other videos and subscribe. RSC6414 out. Deuces.